Without any further ado, here's the next 11 movies in my journey to watch 366 movies in 2020. Let's go. Young Adult is directed by Jason Reitman, stars Charlize Theron as a woman in her mid-30s who is kind of stuck in a state of arrested development. She has moved from her hometown and where she went to high school, but she's clearly not moved on in life, and she kind of has the mindset that because she hasn't moved on, no one else has moved on. So she goes back home to reconnect with an old flame played by Patrick Wilson. And she kind of treats everybody like, oh, you're probably just like you were in high school. And everybody's like, no, that was years ago. So the film is about her struggle to come to grips with not ever having grown up. And she comes back into town, kind of this turbulent personality, and she kind of destroys a lot of people's lives. And she comes to this crossroads and kind of makes a decision that sounds like she's going to move forward, but then has one conversation and she's like, you're right, this is hopeless. I'm gonna just go back to the city. So our main character is kind of left in this place where she's learned something but kind of chooses to ignore it, which isn't a fulfilling ending by any means. I liked Charlize in this role. I really liked Patton Oswalt, who plays kind of the loser that she runs into at a bar. Patrick Wilson does a serviceable job as kind of the leading man role, but this movie kind of fails at the script level. The script was written by Diablo Cody, who wrote Juno. And of her screenplays up until this point, I find this one the least abrasive. It makes some decisions in its last 10 minutes or so that I didn't find fulfilling as a viewer and kind of turned me off from this movie as a whole. Hot Summer Night stars Timothée Chalamet as a loner who kind of gets into some trouble, so he's sent to some family members to their house for the summer. And he befriends kind of the handsome bad boy of the summer, and they kind of become big-time drug dealers. All the while, Chalamet's character is falling in love with a girl. Clichés, clichés, clichés. This movie is filled with clichés, which is fine as long as you do the clichés really well, but I don't think they did them very well. This is a paint-by-the-numbers teen crime drama. It feels phoned in. At least from a script level, the performances are halfway decent. But as a whole, I just wasn't into this movie very much, mostly because it seems like a series of plot events that I've seen 1,000 times before. The Poughkeepsie Tapes is a 2007 horror movie, which is presented in a documentary type style. I was interested to see this movie because I know it came out a long time ago, but then it had trouble finding home video release and was kind of only on the internet for a while. It was on YouTube in its entirety for most of its lifespan. And I didn't end up watching it there because I kind of wanted to see it in a nice format. But now it's on Amazon Prime and I've seen the movie and it was not worth waiting for. It's a story of a serial killer in Poughkeepsie, New York, who abducted and brutally tortured his victims while videotaping them. And the movie presented in a documentary style is kind of a look back at how they found him and what they found and the kind of cat and mouse game he played with police. But the standout segments of any movie of this type is the horror segments, and they're relatively well done, if not memorable. There's two sequences I really liked, one where some brutality happens and it's really well captured. And then there's an interview towards the end of the movie that has a reveal that I thought was really slickly done. But for the most part, this movie was just okay for me. Futureworld is a 1976 science fiction movie, the sequel to Westworld, which was the movie that spawned the HBO series of the same name. And this movie has 3 very distinct acts to it. And the first act is very much a recap of what happened in Westworld the movie. And if you've seen that film, it seems boring. It's stuff you should already know. There's a reason they don't go over the Force again in The Empire Strikes Back. You already know that information. So the movie kind of gets caught up in its own world building a little bit. And there is a mystery involved in this movie, and the mystery is very much limited to the third act of the film. And the reveals the movie has happen so fast, it's hard to kind of try to get ahead of what's happening. You know what's happening before you can even blink. And because of this kind of backload of plot and front load of world building, the movie tends to have pacing issues throughout its entire runtime. The first part's way too slow, the third part is way too fast. If they would have peppered the two together, it would have been better. Having said that, Peter Fonda wears a jumpsuit throughout this entire movie that has bell bottoms, and it's kind of fantastic in an unironic, unnostalgic type of way. And Fonda's performance is good, so is Blythe Danner, who plays his female romantic interest. But the movie can't overcome its own pacing issues and tends to be kind of a drag because of that. Haunters is a 2017 documentary film about the world of haunted houses, which doesn't seem like it would be interesting, but it really is. It starts with the first haunted houses, specifically at theme parks, and kind of moves to present day where haunted houses are plentiful if you want to find them during Halloween. It talks about the old school haunted houses that are still in existence. But on the other hand of the equation, it goes into these kind of homemade haunted houses that have popped up in the last 10 years. It profiles two of these. One, which is a guy who has a haunted house in his parents' house, and his struggles with his new wife, who is not into it at all. And that relationship problem goes into the other guy, Russ McKamey, who is kind of notorious for running McKamey Manor. That haunted house is notorious because of its content matter. It's pretty much assault on anyone who walks in. Talking about physical beatings, we're talking about feeding them bugs. It's rough stuff to watch. But the film actually gets into the morality of what McKamey's doing, which is bad. Let's just say that, it's bad. I mean, he's physically abusing people for free. He's kind of a sadist. And the problem people like Russ McKamey pose to these big operators of classic haunted houses. They constantly have to toe the line and keep getting more and more extreme because of people like this out here. And it gets into the toll that takes on the employees of the haunted house. Those people get punched, those people get kicked, but they can't retaliate like McKamey does because they have some sort of standard. With more and more extreme scares out there, these guys have to keep pushing the limits. And let's just face it, for better or worse, the star of the show is Russ McKamey. He is Mr. Personality, yet he does these terrible things to people. The movie focuses on him a lot, and for good reason. He's fun to watch, as bad as he is. And some of these haunted houses are beautiful. There's one or two that they show the entrances to that I really wanted to see the insides of because the outsides are intricate and beautiful in a way. But this is a good profile of the entire industry, an industry that has never really been focused on, but an industry that is changing because of different players doing different things. The Squid and the Whale is a 2005 drama movie directed by Noah Baumbach. This movie stars Laura Linney, Jeff Daniels, Jesse Eisenberg, and Owen Klein. They're a family that, as the movie begins, is going through a divorce. And this is a very character-driven movie. We find our four leads in different places as the movie starts, and all four characters have their own and very different story arc that kind of get them to the next stage where they can kind of move on from what has happened. As we meet them, Laura Linney's mother character has very much moved on in the relationship. The father, played by Jeff Daniels, is having a hard time kind of coming to grips with his newfound freedom. Jesse Eisenberg resents his mother for the divorce and somewhat looks up to his dad. And Owen Klein's character hates anything having to do with his father while looking up to his mother. And the movie is about these characters discovering that what they thought they knew isn't what they thought they knew. This is a strongly written, strongly acted film from all four leads. They're all excellent. And the writing's really the showcase here. Baumbach's script is detailed and heartbreaking at times. The script is semi-autobiographical, so this really comes from a heartfelt place from Baumbach. And that comes across with how he's treated these characters. None of them's the hero here. They're all bad in their own way, and they come to realize that and get to a place where they can move on. It's just strong work from everybody involved. Missing Mom is a documentary film from the guys who made Nintendo Quest. And that movie was a lot of fun. It was a couple friends going across the United States to try to find and buy every Nintendo-approved game for the NES. That movie was part road movie, part challenge. It was really entertaining. This movie was not. The movie finds co-director Robert McCallum and his half-brother searching for their mom, who's been missing for 25 years. They have very little information to work with, but they start this search to try to find and reconnect with her. They have some bits and pieces of information from their family members, so they have somewhere to start, but what's best for them personally is not what's best for the movie. The movie's original sin is they put a missing poster on Facebook. They print a lot of copies of the same missing poster out to put in storefronts and restaurants where she had been seen within the last 10 years. But while we see a lot of their logistics of trying to get together and make road trips to try to find her, while that's happening, they get a message on Facebook and it's someone saying, "This is your mom's phone number, this is where she is, give her a call." And they call her and it's her, which doesn't make for a compelling mystery nor a compelling investigation. I mean, personally, it's great for their family that they were able to locate, find their mother, and have her kind of integrate back into the family. But for the movie, it's kind of terrible, because it's too easy. It's just too easy of a solution. Here's her phone number, give her a call. The end. And all of it would be great if it were a compelling story, but it's not. She didn't go missing because she was abducted. She didn't fall in love with someone and move away on a whim. She left because she was having personal issues and decided that the family would be better off if she weren't a part of it, so she just left. She made what she thought was a sacrifice for the good of the family and never thought to reconnect with her family at all. And along those lines, her family never really thought about reconnecting with her. I mean, if it was this easy to find her, all they had to do was try, and it just seemed like they didn't. But I don't know the inner workings of her family, and I can't tell you the thoughts of the family members. What I can tell you is, while great for them personally that they were able to reconnect with this family member that had left them so long ago, one decision that they made as filmmakers made the movie kind of not work. And sometimes in documentary films fall apart. Things don't pan out like you want, you just don't make the movie, you move on to your next subject. It happens all the time. And that's what they should have done here, just scrapped the entire project and taken the win as a family. Because it's a loss as a movie. Isn't It Romantic stars Rebel Wilson, Liam Hemsworth, and Adam Devine. It pretends to be a deconstruction of all the romantic comedy tropes, but it just falls into all those traps, which would be fine if it acknowledged it was falling into traps. And it does so a couple times along the way, but at the end of the day, it falls right into the romantic comedy traps and says nothing about it. I wanted to laugh oh so much, and you can tell that there's actors trying to be funny on screen, but none of the jokes hit for me. Both Rebel Wilson and Adam Devine are actors I can take in very small doses. And Rebel Wilson's in every scene of this movie. And it just seems like she's trying so hard. And if she was given a good script, it wouldn't seem that way. But the script doesn't land, her performance isn't great, the jokes aren't funny. So this movie's a pass for me. Is it romantic? No. In a World is directed by Lake Bell, written by Lake Bell, and stars Lake Bell. She is the daughter of a famous movie voiceover actor, and she's kind of struggling to find her way in the business. She's working as an accent coach for movies, but aspiring voiceover actor becomes actual voiceover actor, and the film is her struggling to become part of this world. Not only a newcomer to the world, but a woman in the world, full of men. A lot of dudes. I like how this movie threw you, and lack for a better term, in a world that we've never seen before. It's not like there's a ton of movies about movie voiceover actors. And this movie oozes authenticity. A lot of the people that you see in party scenes and in this film are actual voiceover actors. I mean, Mark Elliott shows up multiple times throughout this movie. He's the voice of Disney. You've heard him a million times. So Belle went the extra mile to make you feel, as a viewer, like you're part of the club. But this is another strong character piece. And Lake Belle's character's life is not exactly in shambles, but it's not quite where she wants to be. And the movie is about taking chances and finding your voice in an industry that might not want you, while also being about living up to your parents' expectations. I think when I was talking about this movie after I got done watching it, I used the word charming a lot. What a charming little movie this is. Charming. And it has jokes. Rebel Wilson, are you listening? Speaking of charming little films, Happy Death Day, a 2017 Blumhouse horror movie that kind of came out of nowhere, stars Jessica Rothe as a college student who is stuck in a Groundhog Day-like time loop, but this time loop ends every day with her murder, and she wakes back up in bed. Not her bed, but a bed. And this movie's all about the journey. You find out in the first 5-10 minutes of this thing that our main character is not a great person, and the rest of the movie is her coming to grips with this magical realism type situation she's been put in, and realizing that to stop the loop from occurring, she has to change as a person. And you know that within the first 10 minutes, but she doesn't. So it's fun to watch her discover what she has to do, and she goes through all the stages of grief. And the acceptance part is hilarious. And to that, this movie's a lot funnier than I expected it to be. And it's also a PG-13 horror film, so it's not super scary. And if you've seen any slasher films at all, you know where the scares are coming, but that's not the point. The point is watching this character evolve, make mistakes, and learn from them time and time again as the cycle keeps going. It was a charming little fun movie. I really enjoyed it. Looking forward to seeing the sequel this weekend. Fury of the Demon is a 2016 fake documentary film, and I'm saying fake documentary because it's not a mockumentary. Mockumentaries are funny and making fun of documentaries. This is fake. It's the story of a film that was rumored to have been made by legendary film director George Méliès, and this movie's been shown twice publicly in its history and has drove people insane. Which, if the story of a film that has the power to drive people crazy intrigues you, it's kind of fun. But this documentary is playing with fire. Fake documentary. It's because it's fake. The problem is that it's somewhat convincing as a fake documentary. I say somewhat because if you think about it for more than 2 seconds, it kind of falls apart. But if you don't think about it at all and take it as face value, you may be fooled by it. There's 3 really big tells. There's one actress in it that's pretty bad. One of the occasions that the movie was shown was in 2012. Then in the internet age, if something like this were to happen, you'd think you'd hear about it. And the third, they talk at length about an understudy of Méliès that supposedly had made the film. And that actor is photoshopped into a bunch of scenes, and it's very unconvincing. I mean, the Photoshop's, it's bad. Funny enough, while I was watching it, the 2012 thing didn't even make it into my head. I didn't even think about it until the bad actress and the really bad Photoshop kind of drew my attention to the fact that this might not be real. So the question becomes, what is your point? Well, if you're not going to make it funny, and you're not going to make it obvious, then your only purpose is to deceive, and we sniffed you out. So, was it fun along the way? Not necessarily. I found the movie kind of tedious, but with the intention to deceive, I can't really give this movie a recommendation because I don't see a purpose in it. Because it's not fun, it's not necessarily well done. It's well done enough to deceive you, but it's not well done overall. I just don't get the point. And that's it for this episode of 366 in 2020. Click all the things below, just everything. Just click everything. And we'll see you next time. So long. So long. Who says that? It's 2020, Scott.